Alright, so today was a little bit difficult for a few reasons. One was because it's my first time back deadlifting in about 2.5 weeks because of the wisdom teeth. But other than that, the volume for my main working sets working up to, it was only probably around like 415 for sets of 10, but still it did a number on me. It got to the point where I was struggling. Not that the speed was good on the bar, but I kept running out of breath, and I don't know, I just needed to get used to doing the high volume sets again. But I noticed one other thing, and if you look right here, my my hip hinge, that's essentially like the point where I drop, or where I should be bending at, essentially to be able to perform the deadlift correctly, is a little bit higher than I would like. So one of the issues with that, like there's really a few things that can cause that. One is just bad motor patterns in general, just basically using all lower back to perform the lift to start with. Another would be bad mobility, and I think I'm a little bit guilty of this. I don't do as much foam rolling as I should. This is also a side effect of just training in one particular variation of the lift, so I kind of get too stuck in the same motor pattern. And then one of the other things that can contribute to this is just honestly a weak posterior chain, and I wasn't really sure which one I had to address more, the mobility portion or the posterior chain portion. So I kind of tried today to hit both nails on the head. So basically what I did was, after these sets, after these working sets, I didn't feel so good about the speed. I also have to take into account that I'm doing beltless work for the most part, so it's going to be a lot more difficult to create that inter-abdominal pressure without the belt. So after this, I'll just work up to a couple singles, a few with 405. The first set just had, it was just beltless, just like the sets prior, and then it still felt a little bit slow right here. And then after that, I realized I wasn't wearing a belt, so look how much faster this one moves. And then I wanted to at least get used to having a little bit more weight on me, so I decided to take 495 for a ride. Didn't move over like extremely fast, but I was pretty happy with how smooth it went. After this, I went back into deficits. I just liked this. This is very good. Other than rolling, this is a way to help really ingrain that motor pattern of you dropping your hips a little bit lower. So this is a good way to practice getting in that positioning. Now, I'm using bands a little bit here, just so I'm pulling as fast as I can the whole way through. You see here, I really put an emphasis on driving the speed up. From a deficit, because the way I put these bands on, I have to wrap them around 1 or 2 extra times, just because it starts off less taut than it would be if I was just pulling from the floor. And if you notice here, I'll be using 2 plates instead of the one I was just using. It honestly would make me a little bit nauseous just using that 1 plate, not to mention my stance was a little bit too tight. It didn't feel quite as natural, but the weight is moving much smoother, probably almost as fast as it was from the floor now that I'm moving it from this position. So I just did a couple sets of triples, working up to around 405, and after that I moved into a couple things that would hit more posterior chain. This exercise I used more for speed off the floor and positioning than anything else, but after that I used stiff leg deadlifts, which is good because it essentially allows you to practice getting out of position right here. You really want to focus on driving your weight to your heels for this and keeping a lot of the tension in your hamstrings and your lower back. You don't have to go too heavy for this. It really all depends on how strong your posterior chain is to start with. I was honestly, from this, doing very controlled sets, touch and go, with just 225, and honestly the pump and the burn was working just fine. So that honestly let me know that my posterior chain is the part in my deadlift that I'm probably lacking the most, even more so than maybe just my motor patterns. The other lift I'm doing to really hammer this away, this works both glutes and hamstrings, is these hip thrusters. Some people do them off the bench. I prefer them off the floor because it allows me to get under the weight easier. these are one thing that you really don't want to. You can go fairly heavy on them, but you want to make sure your contraction is solid at the top. So you might notice on my last rep of each of these sets, I'll try to hold on to it as long as I can. I'm just working up to sets of 5 for these, and working up to, I think I did, let's see, I worked at the 405 here, and then after that I did like a 5x5 with 495, just making sure those contractions are dialed in best I could. Trying to make some seductive eye contact right there. But yeah, then after that, I pretty much just worked into some other back accessories, some bent over rows, one of the best things to improve your deadlift, great compound lift, and not to mention your bench press just allows you to create that shelf on your lats that you really rest your triceps back onto. And then following that, just did some stuff for chest that I haven't really done in a while, just some regular dumbbell bench, worked up to 100 pounds for about 5 or 6 sets of 10. And after that, that's pretty much all she wrote for that workout. I just want to be able to hit my bench or some variation of it at least 3 times a week. And then I'm going to be really trying to dial in that posterior chain, because I think that might be the biggest reason that my deadlift has been so stagnant. But that's pretty much it for this workout, guys. Thank you guys for listening.
Be careful.